All right, everybody, welcome back to Colton Posey Fishing. So today, me and my dad was out here doing a little bit of fall fishing. We had a cold front move through. It's been super cold the past couple of days, so it dropped down to like 29 at night. So this is really the first cold front that we've had this fall. So I'm going to show you exactly how we caught those bass. We had three really nice ones. We got two live wells slapped full of other ones. Stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. All right, so one of the first baits that we were throwing was a Colorado spinnerbait. This time of year, it's really hard to beat a Colorado spinnerbait, especially when the water, I don't know if you can see it, but the water here is extremely muddy. So we've got that mud, we have that cold front that come through, and what happens is these fish, they'll push up against cover and they will get like super sensitive to the cover. They'll be right up against it. So my dad was throwing a just a regular Zoom ribbon tail worm, and these fish were positioning themselves right up under those logs, and he would cast the worm up in there, just standard Texas rig. Those fish would come out, eat the worm. The other way we were catching them was, like I said, with the Colorado spinnerbait. So I'm casting that Colorado spinnerbait right up against logs and all this other stuff. Really just getting a reaction bite out of them. Caught a couple nice ones like that. Caught a bunch of little ones like that. And then once we got out in like flat areas where there wasn't a whole lot of cover and these fish are holding tight to rock or something like that, I was throwing a square bill. The square bill that I was throwing was a simple, I'll get out, Rick Clunn edition square bill. It's the Rattler. So that Rattler, it's a little bit different than other square bills. Instead of it being real quiet as it's moving through the water, it's got those rattles, kind of like a rattle trap does. So that's super nice. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you down through here. I'm going to cast the spinnerbait a little bit. I'm going to kind of walk you through exactly how we were fishing the cover and stuff. So right here in front of me, I've got all kinds of just little tree tops that's in the water. There's logs, everything else, a little bit of grass. And the key to this is hard bottom. There's a lot of rock. So the rock is going to hold that heat also. So I'm basically taking the spinnerbait and I'm throwing it right up against the bank and then slow rolling it past this cover and stuff, just looking for a reaction bite. So let's see if we can get another one to bite here. And I'm just slow rolling this thing. I say slow rolling. I'm not moving super fast. I'm basically getting it by cover, moving a little bit farther out from the cover, make sure there's not one just sitting right on the edge, and then cruising the rest of the way out until I get back to the boat. But the key here is the double Colorado. A lot of people didn't throw the double Colorado especially as much as they used to. Everybody's fixated on willow blades, and willow blades are awesome. I use willow blade spinnerbaits all the time, but the Colorado blade is forgotten about a lot. It's just an old technique, but it still works wonderfully, especially if you're using it in stuff like this. When your water looks like a Yoo-hoo can, that's it's probably the best time to throw a Colorado blade. One of my favorite Colorado blades, especially in the spring, is the War Eagle River Rat. Well, I say it's Colorado. One's a willow leaf, and the other one's your kicker blade is going to be a orange Colorado. But but typically that willow leaf is a lot bigger, so it helps slow the bait down. That's the main thing with the Colorados. It puts out a whoom, whoom, whoom vibration, and you can really take your time with that bait, and I say hopefully, it really encourages the fish that are pushed up against cover from fishing pressure or cold fronts or anything like that. It encourages them to bite. I just have a lot of good luck on a Colorado spinnerbait. Now my setup that I throw my Colorado on is it's just a simple 7-foot medium heavy action. I've got a 7-4-1 reel. I do like a higher speed reel. I know a lot of people don't. I'm a power fisherman, so I prefer to fish fast if I can. A lot of times this time of year you do have to slow down, but a lot of times you can make them bite. So right now it's about probably about 1 or 2 o'clock in the evening, somewhere around in there. I ain't looked at the clock, but I know it's past lunch. Either way, these fish are really going to slow down now, but I probably pick up a few off this Colorado that's still willing to eat. But the reels that I prefer to use, I like a Daiwa reel. Lew's reel's really good. Shimano, all that stuff. But I do like a higher speed reel. That way I can take up line if I need to. A lot of times these fish will hit your spinnerbait by the back, and they'll push it up towards the boat, and then you've got to catch up to it really fast. If you got a slow gear ratio reel, then you're kind of, per se, get caught with your pants down because you've got to really catch up to it. So get a bite here in a minute. Now my line size that I prefer to run is a 15-pound test. I like that higher pound test. The bait's moving, I'm throwing around trees and stuff like that. 20-pound test if you can get away with it. Really good, 100% fluorocarbon. I don't throw monofilament on a spinnerbait, just for the obvious reasons. I don't want all that stretch. My rod's got a fast action tip, so that way I'll have a little bit of bend anyways in it. So there he is. Big. Oh, he come off. Come off. Daggum it. Alright. Sorry. I got this camera on a pedestal. It ain't really the best setup, but I just threw right up against this cover right up here where these trees are. Had a fish come up and bull on it. Big old bass. But that's basically how I was catching them on the spinnerbait. Real close cast. They're putting their heads like right up against the trees. And it's really just a reaction bite. As soon as that bait hits the water, I'm reeling it. Not burning it, obviously. It's Colorado. Can't really burn it that well. But there he is. Not a big one, but either way, burning that bait right up against the edge of the bank. So just a little feller. Throw him in the live well. Be supple. All right. And here's the thing too. When you're this time of year, whenever you get that bite from your fish, you want to wherever you're at, make a couple more casts back in that area. So if you saw, I missed that really good one up against that log. I threw pretty much right next to it again, and then that's when I got that other fish. So I had two fish sitting on that log, one real big one and then one real little one. So want to make sure you pick the areas apart, because they're not going to be moving around a whole lot. You've really got to kind of, especially with this kind of stain and stuff, and with the cold front moving through, you've really got to target those areas. There's another one. Oh, he missed. Well, got my spinnerbait hung up. But you really got to target those areas multiple times. So don't just make one cast in one area and then move on. Like this one right here where I'm coming up on where my bait's hung up, there's a tree laying right here in the edge of the water, and basically I just throw right up against that stump there, and I bring my spinnerbait out, and then once I bring that spinnerbait out, that's usually the reaction bite that you're looking for. So check my line. But like I said, you are picking the place apart, but you're not looking to I'm not looking to work something real slow. I'm just trying to get that reaction. Nothing more, nothing less. Just it's one of those things where it's kind of like somebody throws something at you and your immediate reaction is to try and catch it, no matter what it is. That's what I'm trying to make the fish do, is react the same way. So let's see here. Let's see if I can get a couple more bites. But the picture that's in the thumbnail, those are the fish that that we caught earlier today. It's every year me and my dad go somewhere and we catch as many fish as we can to keep and cook for that night. We used to have fish fries all the time when I was a kid, but we do it every year for my birthday. This year we're up here at a buddy of ours, private pond. It's a massive pond, but this pond here it's been pressured a whole lot here the past several years. So a lot of times, if you can find ponds like this where it's pressured a whole lot, you can critique your techniques and use it on the lake. That's one thing that I used to do, especially before I started tournament fishing. I would go to the lake, have a lot of trouble. I would come to a pond, and the baits that I wasn't comfortable with, I would practice with them and just continue practice and build that confidence. And you eventually figure out how to use them in those particular areas, and that's when the confidence sets in. Because if you don't have confidence, you're more than likely not going to catch nothing on the bait that you're using. And doing this over and over again really seems to help. But like right here, we're coming up on another treetop. Probably pull a couple out of here. I just threw the spinnerbait right up against the bank here, and pretty close to it there's a fish that come up, and I guess I spooked it. But try not to get caught up on just one technique this time of year. It's easy to get frustrated, especially he missed it. A little bitty guy, squealer. It's easy to get aggravated this time of year, especially the bites changing, the fish changing, the baits moving to different areas and stuff like that. So don't get frustrated. Just keep digging in. Try to think outside the box. Like I said, this double Colorado is just it's an old technique, but it works. It works no matter where you go, whether it's a lake, whether it's a pond, whether it's a river. One of the main things that I fish with on the river is a Colorado spinnerbait. A lot of people fish with them at night. The big spoon Colorado blades. This one that I'm throwing is just a simple 3/8 ounce. That's typically what I throw at the lake or on the river or anything like that, is a 3/8 ounce. I know a lot of people like to throw the 1/2 ounces, but I don't want those real huge blades unless it's absolutely necessary. So if the water is like extremely muddy, you can't even see an inch or a centimeter down, then I'll throw the bigger spoons, 1/2 inch, 3/4 ounce, something like that. But typically if it's lightly stained, fish are moving slow, I don't want something to over present to them, but I don't want something super small either, because this time of year I understand it's going to be tough. I am looking for those big bites. But I also want to catch as many fish as I can. So that's a big key. It's like I always said in the tournaments, you know, first thing I would do in the mornings, I wasn't trying to necessarily, I mean, obviously it'd been nice to catch 20 pounds first thing in the morning, but I was looking to get my limit and then work on size. And typically, in my experience doing that, you know, you would squeeze a big one or two in the beginning, and then you have the rest of the day to coal up, you know, instead of just going trying to throw the biggest thing in your tackle box at them first thing in the morning. That's just my experience and my opinion. I understand people do things differently. It is what it is. So, I had one come up here to the boat. Missed it. But that's the main thing though too. I mean, I can cover so much water with this. When I get on these bare banks like I'm fishing right now, I may pick up one or two fish, but I know that the bite is going to be up against those limbs, and it can be something just barely hanging in the water. I know that's where those bites are going to come from. So that's what I'm focusing on. And when I get to this stuff where it's just bare bank, you know, I can just cut dry and go, and still move this bait along, and the fish that's going to bite is going to bite. If they don't, then, you know, I'm on to the next spot where that pattern is. But that's basically how we've been patterning them today, is just cover. When these fronts come through, never forget to get into cover. That's what they're going to do. They're going to hug up against rocks. They're going to hug up against trees, grass, anything that they can get in, and they're going to hang out there. So this is the first day of the cold front that was coming through. So tomorrow it'll be pretty similar, and then the third day they'll really start heating up after the cold front's going. That's when you can, you know, start mixing up those top water lures and stuff like that. Like the video I talked about Friday, the best baits for fall bass fishing. I cover kind of everything in there, but I kind of wanted to just give you an example today of what I'm doing and how we caught the big bag of fish that we caught. It's not a tough, how do I say it? It's not a difficult process. It's just really finding what they're holding on to. So we know here that they're holding on. To wood cover. That's where 90% of the fish come off of. That big one that I hung up, that got off right back over there a minute ago, and then the other little one and stuff, they were coming off the same thing. They're holding right up against that cover, and they stay tight to it, and you've got to get right up there to them and present the bait to them in a way that they like. And that's another thing. You know, right now they're eating the spinnerbait at like a medium speed. But where you're at, you know, they may be wanting it like just crawling. I mean, just super slow. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just you're going to have to figure those parts out. Just don't forget, anytime you're researching stuff for a certain pattern and stuff during whatever season, like here in the fall, the seasonal patterns, don't forget whatever techniques you're being taught. There's one. This is pretty good. Whatever techniques you're being taught. Barely got him hooked. There he is. See, that one was holding right up against a little stump. It's coming out of the water. 1.5 pound fish. But you know, don't don't get caught up on trying to do 50 different things at one time, because typically when you're doing those 50 different things at one time, you get discouraged, your process starts slowing down and everything else. Just work on something that you know works. Work your confidence bait. Like I'm showing you this Colorado spinnerbait. You may throw it for 3 years straight, only catch 4 or 5 fish off of it. You know, you gotta get out there, learn to transition to it. That's one of the biggest things that I talk to a lot of young anglers about, especially the kids in high school and college and stuff like that. You really gotta you've got to be versatile. You can't just get used to throwing one bait all the time and get really good at it. Yeah, you can catch fish that way, but learn to transition to different baits. It's like the fish and stuff. You know, if you introduce some other kind of species to them for them to forage on, they're gonna adjust, and you've got to adjust with them. You've got to learn when to adjust, why you're adjusting. That's the biggest key that nobody asks. Everybody looks up when, where, and how, but nobody ever asks why. Why did I catch that fish? Why? Always ask why. And when you do that, you'll really start taking off with it. So, got another little squealer here. So, just remember, during the fall, they're going to hold the cover, especially during these cold fronts. So don't get frustrated when you get out on the water and you're having a hard time getting whatever kind of bites you're trying to get. What's up, everybody? I had to edit out the back end of the footage. I really didn't catch any more fish like at the back end of the footage. It wasn't very long, only like 5 minutes that I had to edit out. But I lost audio to my mic. I had the camera up on a pedestal, but I just kind of had it rigged up. And I was taking my fishing pole. You'll see I was taking my fishing pole and adjusting it whenever it started to tilt, and I accidentally hit the mic and lost audio at the last end of it. But basically what I was trying to explain was, like, don't get caught up on 100 different things. Take what you know best and do your best to make it work. And the stuff that you're not familiar with, or the stuff that you're not comfortable with, take that, learn it, do your best to learn to use that. The best thing to do if you're going to learn to use something is do it in a comfortable place where you are going to catch fish and stuff like that, and then attempt it in pressured places and so on and so forth. That's kind of what I was wanting to relay. But that's basically all I was doing today, and all my dad was doing. We were just basically hitting those fish that were directly up under the logs and stuff, tree tops, rock, anything of that nature, anything they could hide in. We were hitting them basically right on the head with that and bringing that bait out, and they were smacking it right as soon as you would bring it out. So either way, I hope you learned something today. Once again, I'm sorry about the audio. I'm sorry about the video. It wasn't a great video, but I do hope you take something from it. And don't forget to like and share. Subscribe, please. Hit that notification bell. It helps me out a whole lot. I really appreciate it, guys. See you next time.